Playing with conditions in Monsterhearts can be tricky, especially on the MC side of the table. I ran these sessions without the benefit of the full text of Monsterhearts 2, operating mostly on what I had internalized from running many sessions of the original Monsterhearts. But if you listen closely to this episode, you can pick up on how I incorporate conditions into the play. For example, there are a couple of instances where I use the existence of a condition as the justification for a keep your cool roll in a situation that might not have otherwise risen to that level. Conditions also play a big part in how I frame scenes in Monsterhearts. It doesn't happen on the recording here, but something I like to do is look at the PC conditions before I frame and see if there is an opportunity to frame up something really tough that might occur as a result of those conditions. I will often explain to the player what I'm doing too, so they can remember to take action to get that condition cleared in a future scene. Enjoy. And he smiles and says, "Don't worry." Takes out his keys and he puts his keys in your hand. He says, "I'm not going with you because I need to resolve this situation." It says, "But trust that I'll be with you in spirit. You're going to be okay." And then he grabs the books out from under your arm and throws them on the ground and points at them at the teacher and says, "Pick that up."
I look at this teacher and I shrug and then I run away.
Ellen, what are you doing during all this? How are you feeling? What are you doing?
So there is that thing where he's mentioned Thompson, and I kind of don't want to have anything to do with him. This other guy's kind of an asshole. But now there's a whole Yellow Man and Thompson thing, and people back at the classroom will be very interested. So I'm going to fade back to the classroom with all of these details.
If you ever just like kind of wander off, do people even notice that you're gone?
No, I mean, just like doors are just open when I go to them.
Right.
I'm just kind of there.
You're going to go back to class and just basically spill the beans on like everything you've seen. All right, I'm into it. Who wants to be in that scene? Margot, maybe? We'll kind of segue into that in a moment. I'm going to go over to Serena. Be wherever you wish, Serena, however you want to frame it.
So maybe I'm actually back in the classroom already. Like Ellen is going to come in there, but like,
do you have like a shared class, like math class or something, maybe?
Yeah, something like that. But like maybe I'm just hanging out with Ben, trying to just like build on what we had before of like, hey, those granola bars were really good.
Right.
I think you should think about like maybe doing something like having a bake sale or something like that. Like you could like that type of propping him up type stuff.
If you're trying to like enthrall Ben, easy peasy, no need to. No,
but like
no rules required.
I think it's more like that's the scene that you see maybe when Ellen shows up.
I love it. It's good. He's like, "Yeah, I'm really into this website, epicurious.com. Like, you go there, they have so many awesome things." And like, and he's like just going on about like, you know, how he finds things to cook or whatever.
Perfect.
Who wants to be on scene first, Margot or Ellen?
Why don't I be in the classroom and then Ellen can either just show up like she does or make her big entrance.
I love it. Good. All right. Well, so what are you doing in the classroom, Margot? I think this is like before class starts. Everyone's just kind of milling around, right?
I'm just sitting at my desk and just kind of minding my own business, and I'm reading through the emails that Chad gave me, just looking to see if there's anything real interesting in there. And then when I see Ellen coming in the room, I'm going to fold those back up and shove them into my backpack.
So this game has no investigation move, but Gaze into the Abyss is the closest thing. I mean, not be going that hard yet, but like I would just want to know like what kinds of information are you looking for?
What I'm actually looking for is like are the threats escalating and are they starting to be physical threats? So I don't know that I don't expect to be able to backtrack anything. I'm just trying to get what's the threat level that's implied in these messages.
They are. The threat level's pretty high. Like, I know where you live. I'm going to come find you. One of the emails, he describes like Chad's house, which you've been to, so you know. It's like, if you don't come up with either my money or my product, you know, in X number of days, you're done for, like all that kind of stuff. You have to wonder like how their business arrangement even got started in the first place, but you know, whatever, you know, the internet, who knows? Maybe he thought Chad was good for it because Chad is like, you know, rich. He thought like Chad would be a good connection at the school because Chad's popular.
Yeah, Chad's the guy who has a public Facebook feed and doesn't even think to filter anything out. So you see him a curated stream with all the rich friends and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, cool. So you're kind of going through that. Let's just have Ellen on scene then.
We're looking at that, and then when you kind of look back, I'm just kind of sitting in that desk chair next to you. I'm like, Margot.
You just appeared. I love it.
I'm like, okay, what? Don't sneak up on me. God, what?
So what's up with Jonah?
What do you think's up with him? He's an interesting guy.
So I was just out in the hall, and he had this like he had this like weird interaction with this guy in yellow, this old guy.
All right, Margot, you just see her like freeze up, putting those papers into the backpack, and her hand just stops.
Yeah, give me keep your cool. You have so many like conditions connected up with Big Man that it kind of forces to keep your cool no matter what. So.
Oh, got a 9.
How do you want Ellen to receive your reaction right now? Are you trying to like be? I mean, it'll be up to Ellen to choose basically, but yeah, whoever you're dealing with chooses one. You go unnoticed or underestimated. You seem confident and imposing. What are you aiming for? And then we'll let Lowell decide what Ellen actually sees.
I just can't see Margot being confident or imposing when the yellow man's name gets dropped. It's just she's never had anyone have so much pull on her before. Yeah. So maybe she doesn't quite catch me locking up there. That would be kind of the unnoticed bit.
Yeah, that's interesting. Well, so what do you choose then, I guess?
Is it reasonable to say that I can see that it maybe slightly unnerves her, and I'm excited because that might be something she might need my help or something, and she might need me?
You underestimate the gravity of the situation.
Oh yeah,
exactly right. Yeah. Okay. Good. Yeah. I'm into that. Well, let's proceed. Keep the scene going. How does this go?
Yeah, they were both in the bathroom together.
Wait, the big man was here at school today?
Yeah, just a little bit ago, just before Jonah took off.
What were he and Jonah doing?
And I'll hesitate because I don't want to describe my creeperness.
Yeah, no, how are you going to get around that?
Oh, no, that's going to be a follow-up question here on Margot's part.
I think he was just, and Jonah was all scared.
I'm going to go with keep your cool on you too, because for one thing, you have they know. Maybe you're kind of feeling a little bit of pressure of like, oh shit, people are going to know that I'm a creeper and all that kind of stuff, right? So
11-teen.
Very good. Nice. Take your condition off too.
And he was, and I don't know, but Jonah was like pulling his clothes on as he came out of the bathroom before he ran off to talk to that other guy.
Where did the big man go? And you see me literally like look around and like look out the classroom window to see if I see him standing out in the field or anything.
Serena, you remember him. I mean, if you overhear this conversation, you'll know who they're talking about. You were the first one to encounter Big Man.
Maybe you see me in the background, like right as you see my head sort of like snap up as they're talking back and forth. I just kind of like turn to Ben and I'm like, hold on a second, walk over to you guys. And I'm like, big man in yellow, cowboy hat, old gray hair, that type of thing.
I'm positively glowing because now the two of them are here paying attention to me. Yeah, in the bathroom, it freaked Jonah out. Like Jonah must have known him. Got all freaked out and took off.
I look at Margot and then I look back at Ellen and I'm like, you don't want to deal with that guy.
Oh no, he seemed awful. Does he have anything to do with Mr. Thompson?
I think I look at both of them back and forth because I think I know more information about this than either of you guys.
I'm looking at your conditions right now, Serena.
Oh yeah.
I think you can probably knock off weird and drunk on you. I don't think those don't feel relevant right now, but not shaken.
Definitely not.
The last time you saw Mr. Thompson, he pulled a gun on you and blew your brains out.
So I'm like, look, I don't know if the big man, the man in yellow, if he was ultimately responsible for anything, but he's connected, and I know if I see him or Mr. Thompson again, I am going the other way, and I suggest you guys do the same.
So is that why Jonah went to see Mr. Thompson after that?
A great way to introduce that little wrinkle.
He borrowed that new guy's car.
Thomas's car?
Double say what?
Yeah, that's probably not good, but I don't know. Jonah has some weird pull on people.
At that point, Miss Forsyth, the vice principal, comes into the room and she says, "Okay, everyone, settle down, settle down. Mr. Robinson," I think Mr. Robinson is he's like your trigonometry teacher or whatever, right? Mr. Robinson had a sick day today. He's not going to be here. So you're going to have a substitute, as it turns out. He should be here shortly. Please just be on your best behavior. We're going to cut from there. Jonah, you're in Thomas's car. You are going to jail to, I don't know, intervene. What's your plan? What are you doing?
Yeah, I don't have a plan, so
that's perfect. So what do you do?
I'm just like driving there as fast as I can, like
Okay, cool.
speeding.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Pushing the situation a little bit because you had 2 failures in a row. So I'm going to keep framing hard here. I think you're like going down the street, you drive through a stop sign. You have to slam on your brakes. The other person across the way has to slam on their brakes. It's your mom.
Oh God. Okay.
She drives a Volvo, of course. Safety first. And she slams on the brakes and she just begins like cursing up a storm. She's like, "Motherfucker, blah, 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 blah." And then she gets out and she's like, "Jonah, what do you do?"
Did we crash?
No, you almost T-boned her, but it was like you stopped and then
I'm gonna look at her. I don't get out. I look at her through the window and then I like shift back into gear and speed off.
Just give me a run.
That is 7.
Let's see here. Choose one.
I think I maybe I run into something worse.
Okay.
What could possibly be worse? Than
Yeah,
Mom?
how could it get worse? I know, but I guess it can. I know where this is going. Describe just getting away from your mom. You can have that. What does it look like?
Yeah, no, I look at her out through the window and I just like shift back into gear and like pedal to the metal. The car is like swerving as I speed off.
Nice. You notice, like, from the direction of the block that the school was on, pulling around the corner is a big black SUV, and it's right behind you. What do you do?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think Thomas's car is pretty nice, so I'm going to try and race it, basically, and get away from it.
Okay, nice. Just keep your cool. Can you keep it together enough to, like, give this person the slip? Does that make sense?
That is
Okay.
really low. Yeah.
I think you're trying to get away and you pull into the double Q parking lot and you forget that they have a little bit of construction going on out back and you can't actually pull through from out back. And so we find you in the back of the double Q, much like Bellefontaine found Ellen at first, right? And he pulls up right behind you and he gets out, walks up to the window where you're sitting, looks in. And even though it's super obvious that he wants you to roll your window down and that you should talk to him, he still like knocks on the glass.
So I roll down the window. I'm not even looking him in the face. I'm just looking forward.
He says, "Son, has anyone ever told you that speed kills?" We'll cut there.
And yeah, that's a good place to cut.
Oh boy. Substitute teacher. You're all in class. Miss Forsyth excuses herself. The door opens. The big man walks in. He has to turn sideways to fit through the frame of the door. And he takes his hat off momentarily, kind of hunkers down. And he says, "Well, hello, children. I'm here to teach you some trigonometry." What is everyone thinking or feeling right now, Margot?
Okay, so she just like slides her chair back with a screech across the tile floor. And she stands up and grabs her bag and just starts moving like she's going to go out the door.
Hmm.
Not running yet, but it's like, I can't deal.
I think it's still run away.
13.
Nice. As you're leaving, he says, "Well, honey, we're going to talk about some really, really interesting math this afternoon. Geometry you've probably never even heard of. Are you sure you don't want to stay?"
I'll never use that stuff. Never. No. Thanks, though.
Like,
Just
we'll see.
going.
We'll see. What about you, Serena?
Yeah, so I think I don't want to leave, but at the same time, like, I think normally I sit closer in the front of the class, and like as soon as like Margot gets up, like I just sit in her chair in the back of the class and just like I'm not getting any closer. I'm just gonna hang out here. Only a 45-minute period. We'll be done and I can go away.
Keep it cool. Because you're not totally on Big Man's radar, right?
So I still fail. I get a 6.
Okay. I'm gonna hold that. What about you, Ellen?
Well, because she was just talking to me, and then she goes to move. I stick with her like I'm with her. Okay. So, yeah, I'm going to also sit back there because that's what we're going to do. She and I, we're going to sit down here.
Good. I don't need a roll from you. I'm into it. Here's the funny thing. Big man begins teaching his lesson, and he is writing all sorts of like weird, complicated math on the whiteboard with his dry erase marker. Symbols, formulas, things you've never seen before. And as he's writing all this stuff, Serena, you'll notice everybody in the classroom, minus you, minus Ellen, minus Thomas, are just sitting there, their eyes kind of glazed over, their mouths slightly agape, transfixed by these formulas on the wall, right? These symbols, these words, these numbers. He's writing it all very carefully. He's got beautiful penmanship. Notably, he never identifies himself to the class. Thomas seems deeply fascinated. Serena, you'll notice that Thomas is like on his elbow, leaning in, not entranced like everybody else, just eyes wide, delirious, like happy with what he's looking at, just really, really soaking it up and getting into it, right? This formula that's like scratched out on the whiteboard triggers automatic gaze into the abyss. I just need to know what you might want to know about the situation or about anything, really.
So I think what Serena wants to know is she kind of wants to know what the big man wants from her specifically. Like I get the impression that the big man wants things from people, but like because we don't have like a clearly defined relationship, maybe this is sort of like watching the patterns and stuff of what he wants specifically from me.
I love it. Plus dark. 8, good. 7-9, the abyss shows you confusing and alarming visions, but you get your answer nonetheless. Okay, good. We'll hold that for a second. Ellen, what about you?
So I'm kind of caught between two things in my head that I'm thinking about. One is, of course, on the surface, my initial thing is how can I be in Serena's circle? How can I be her?
Oh, interesting. I like that. That's good. Roll dark.
10.
10. Good. We'll start with you. Big man turns and says, "This that I have written on the board, and which I hope you are all able to keep up with and copy down diligently in your notebooks, this is a mathematical expression of truth." And he kind of like stalks forward. He looks at you, Ellen, and at Serena. He says, "I know you want to be like this little girl. She's very, very pretty. I don't blame you. But what you don't realize is you are already much more like her than you think. You are both, let's just say, a perversion of the order of things, the way life is supposed to go, in your own ways. But if you really want to know the truth, what you have to do to be like this little girl right here, the truth of the matter is, you've got to learn how to manipulate. And I think you should start with this fella right over here." And he points at Thomas. Thomas, who seems to not be noticing any of this, he's enwrapped, like he's staring at them and taking copious notes in his notebook of the formula. She very much wants to understand what he is. Maybe you can get to him first. And then stands up, saunters over, keeping eye contact with Serena. Your question, of course, was, what does he want with you? "Oh, honey, I don't want anything with you. You're a lie. But, truth be told, if I had my way, well..." And then he kind of like moves over to, let's say Sarah is in the room as well. She's our little sort of goody two-shoes girl. "This little girl, her granddaddy, built a lumberyard years ago. He's the one who began to tame the woods and helped turn Mercy Falls into what it is today." And Sarah, still just slack-jawed, staring at the formula, begins to quiver a little bit, and trickles of blood begin to like come down the corners of her mouth and out of her ears and out of her tear ducts. And she appears to be having some kind of like hemorrhage or seizure. Hershey's sitting there staring at the formula, and he looks you dead in the eyes, Serena, and he says, "This little girl's going to be the first, but you're going to help me make sure that she's not the last." And then he goes back to ostensibly teaching the lesson.
Looking at the big man, I'm like, what are you doing to her?
"Oh, I'm mixing up her inside so she dies right there on the spot."
Why? She hasn't done anything.
"Oh, but she's done everything. And it ends right now."
I want to do something that like tries to like shake her or the whole classroom out. I don't know what that would be.
I don't know. Try something. See what happens.
What would be a good thing to do?
The table
what
has
do
some
I-
ideas.
Bite her
Yeah.
right in front of the big man.
I like the idea of biting her. I think it pushes into his little prophecy, right?
Yeah.
She'll be the first, but not the last.
I'll walk up to Sarah. I'll look at him and I'm like, you can't have her. Maybe run like a finger, like tasting the blood, just because I had that problem with Alan where his blood was poisoned.
Yeah.
So like I don't
See how
licking
that
the
goes,
blood
yeah.
before like I like dive in and try to like bite her. Assuming that goes fine, like I lean down. It's not so much that I'm like trying to feed on her to like regain myself, but it's like just to break that connection between her and the big man. So I'm probably like standing like in between the board and Sarah. I walk to the front of the desk, and so like I'm facing her.
And so what were you doing again? You're just gonna like try to like
Yeah, so like I think I'm gonna feed on her, but like
Mhm.
it's almost sort of like as if like you know how people like slap people to like wake them up, like give them a
right,
shot
yeah.
or something else. I think that's what it is. It's like I'm trying to do something to exert some sort of control.
But you are sinking your fangs into her neck.
Oh yeah, I will.
Okay. That invokes feeding. So how does your feeding move work?
When you feed on hot blood, the first time they've ever been fed on, you both mark experience,
Okay.
which is true in here. And then choose to. You heal one harm, you take one forward, they definitely don't die. So I'm definitely picking they don't die because that's the whole point of this.
Right.
And I'm not harmed, so I'll take +1 forward then.
I'm living for it. Give me the scene. Just show it. Again, remembering that only Thomas and Ellen in the room are aware, and Big Man, of course, are aware of like, what you're doing. Like,
So,
just to emphasize the eeriness of the scene, everyone else is just sitting there dead stone quiet while this happens, right?
I won't let you try to kill her. Like I'm saying this as I'm like walking up to
Sure.
the front of her desk. And like when I turn around to like face Sarah with my back to Big Man, I maybe catch Ellen's eyes because she's sitting behind. I just like sigh and like take a deep breath, and you can see that as like I lean over, probably looks to you like I'm about to like kiss Sarah. I just move past her lips and down to her neck and just like start to bite in.
It'll break whatever power Big Man had over her. Ellen, you'll see just like a little smile spread across Big Man's lips, right across his face. What do you do?